say starting. Houston Rockets star point guard Fred VanVleet has suffered a torn ACL and could miss the entirety of the 25-26 season, sources told ESPN on Monday. He suffered the injury at a recent off-season workout. Wow. Fred VanVleet, a one-time All-Star and former NBA champion with the 2019 Toronto Raptors, has helped starting Houston Rockets star point guard Fred VanVleet has suffered a torn. There it is. I'm about to say, there you go, echo. Let me reread that. Fred VanVleet, a one-time All-Star, former NBA champion with the 2019 Toronto Raptors, has helped spearhead the Rockets' turnaround from lottery team to playoff contender in his 2 seasons with Houston. He signed a 2-year, $50 million extension with the Rockets in June. Keep that in mind as well, with the deal including a player option in next year's offseason. An immediate fit after signing a 3-year deal with the team in the summer of 2023, Fred VanVleet helped Houston improve from 22 wins to 41 in his first year. The Rockets then won 52 games in the last season to grab the second seed in the Western Conference, ending a 4-year postseason drought. So, and I know for a fact, I probably read that a little too smoothly. Some of y'all think that I'm really illiterate. It's tough, y'all. But okay, let's knock out a couple of things out the way, because I see a lot of people spreading a little bit of misinformation, and some of y'all I think have kind of highlighted this as well. So let's go ahead and knock the first elephant out the room, because I think a lot of people were immediate when it came to the news that Fred VanVleet is out. So what are the Rockets going to do next? Let's go ahead and dispel immediately. The Rockets have zero cap space to make any immediate move. So when people were sitting there saying, let's go for Russ or let's go for Ben Simmons, that's off the table. So that's one. That's already off the table. And for those who need a understanding, a clear definition on why exactly that is the case, the Rockets can't sign Russell Westbrook or Ben Simmons because they are $1.2 million away from the hard cap, the first apron hard cap. So when you're past the hard cap, you can't do that. It's done. You're already out the way. You cannot do that whatsoever. So they're too close to the first apron to sign someone randomly to a vet minimum. So let's get that out the way. That is off the table. That cannot occur. That is not an option. They cannot sign someone to the team. Now, secondly, you may be asking, well, why do they want to sign Russell Westbrook or Ben Simmons? Are they that desperate at the point guard position? And simply the answer to that question is yes, they are. They are sincerely that desperate to just add someone of significance at the point guard slot. If we were to go to the depth chart of what exactly we are looking for, it can be highlighted pretty immediate in terms of where exactly they stand with some of the positioning. So kind of looking at what they have on the table, they have Josh Okogie, but he's going to be more of a wing. Same with Tate is going to be a wing. Amin is the one that is the first name that's kind of in question, but DFS wing, Tari Eason wing and Jeff Green, and then from there everybody else is either a wing or a big. So off rip, you're already running real thin. That leaves you, after Fred VanVleet, that leaves you with Aaron Holiday, Reed Shepherd, or Amin Thompson playing a bigger lineup. Now, besides the fact that they don't really have that many point guards or players that can play at the point guard position, it was already in question the level of passing and playmaking you were going to get out of anyone on this team, because effectively Fred was going to go into the season not just being the really one and only point guard option, but he was going to go into the season as arguably the best passer or at least table setter that the team could offer outside of Şengün. That's what Fred was going to have to provide. And I had a lot of questions about what this was going to look like heading into the season. However, I was a little bit more optimistic after watching Şengün overseas playing in Eurobasket. He looks really, really great. He was able to add a lot to his game. So I'm going to be honest with you, I was a bit optimistic heading into the season because they potentially may have found someone in Şengün in development of himself that would be able to fill up at least enough of a void as a passer playmaker to where that wouldn't be a problem. But at this point, losing Fred is going to be a major blow to the team. The other major blow to the team is going to be three-point shooting. And that was an aspect that I was already putting into question when it came to this roster and what they were going to be able to provide. Last year, as we all know, this is a roster that offensively was handicapped in many regards. Not that many floor spacers, not that many capable three-point shooters, obviously no real shot creators. A lot of that has been answered with adding Kevin Durant to the roster, but KD has a history of being limited, even when he was younger, more explosive, with teams that don't have the proper floor spacing around him. That's the reason why Fred VanVleet was going to be very pivotal. Not to say that Fred was an elite shooter last year. He only shot 34.5% from behind the arc on respectable volume. He took around 8 3-pointers a game. However, the 34.5% was better than what practically everybody else was providing on the team. Looking at the rest of the roster, you have Aaron Holiday shooting 40%, but, very limited minutes. Dylan Brooks, who's no longer on the roster, isn't really there. Jeff Green, not going to be playing that many minutes. Jalen Green, the other quote-unquote three-point shooter, he's no longer there either. And then right after that, it was Fred. So you lost Jalen Green, you lost Dylan Brooks. Aaron Holiday, by default, is going to have to play more minutes. But as you can clearly see, floor spacing, three-point shooting is going to be a problem. Cam, shout out to Leada for letting me know. Yeah, Cam is also gone as well. So you're already running really, really thin with three-point shooting and floor spacing. I do believe that Fred, his three-point shooting, his accuracy was going to get slightly better with a lot of the shot-creating responsibility coming off his shoulders and being more relied upon as a catch-and-shoot type of option. But that can't even be optimal anymore because he's not going to be on the team. So these are all things that were kind of set in place and why many people are like, wow, this is a major blow for a team that was already thin at the point guard position, a team that was already thin with floor spacing. That was a problem last year. And a team that was already thin with some form of veteran leadership, stability, someone who has some level of experience. That's a huge blow for them to lose Fred VanVleet, regardless of how you cut it or slice it. So what exactly does this mean moving forward for the Houston Rockets? Well, the name that I think a lot of people are rightfully putting out there is Reed Sheppard. Reed last year had some reps, nothing too consistent, and was a player that was certainly going to be a much bigger project later on down the line rather than someone who was expected to get immediate burn. But I'm going to be honest with you, they really don't have any other choice but to anticipate a major leap from Reed Sheppard. If not him, then some consistency from Aaron Holiday. Those are the two options. But last year, Reed only giving you 4 points, didn't shoot that great from three. And then, the assist and rebounds aren't really there either. So that right there is going to be really, really tough. Another player that is in question is Amin. A lot of people are, alluding to this idea that they could play bigger lineups, have Amin at the point guard position, or run the pseudo-1, run a bigger backcourt, and then allow him to kind of go out there and initiate offense and kind of leverage his athleticism to at least create quality looks for everyone else, and he develop in those regards. That's something that is interesting. That's something that he should do anyway. That's something that should be a part of his trajectory. But to ask him to be a full-time passer, playmaker, ball handler, play initiator, to ask him to be that, I think is a pretty deep ask for him, especially because of his limitations last year as well. But I guess if the only other options is either him or Reed Sheppard, Justin Holiday, those are all not really great options, so they're already kind of running really, really thin. The other potential concern that a lot of people had, and shout out to Leada for bringing it up, was also the turnovers. The decision-making last year from a lot of those young players wasn't the greatest. Şengün was obviously operating a lot of that offense, but Amin last year, even with a reduced role, was averaging 2 turnovers. Then you had Şengün giving you nearly 3 turnovers a game. I think that's going to turn over. But even players such as Jabari Smith, Tari Eason, who really didn't have the ball in their hands that often, they were just play finishers, they're turning the ball over pretty consistently as well. I would like to see, a step up for Kevin Durant, because I think that's where we're going to end up leaning in terms of play creation, shot creation for himself, playmaking, and overall structuring of the offense. I do believe it's probably going to be more leaning towards KD and Şengün. But again, I think it's just a lot to ask out of these players. Like, a lot, and I do mean a lot to ask out of these players to be something that they're just not. They're just not these things whatsoever. And I think that the bigger concern, if you are a Houston Rockets fan, is that you already knew heading into this season, you had effectively cracked open a window of opportunity. You had kind of put yourself in a position to where, hey, we need to make sure we can capitalize off of this year and next, because effectively, not only with Fred VanVleet, who signed a 2-year deal, but you really don't know how many more years of excellence you're going to get out of Kevin Durant. KD is heading into, what is it, year 15, 16 for KD? Oh, 17, 18? Jesus Christ, never mind. You're heading into year 18 with KD, and more importantly, 37 years old in a few days. And so that is the caliber of player we're referring to. KD has really lended himself an extra 2 or 3 years in his career that he potentially would not have expected, just because of his professionalism and how much he cares about the game. But that can only carry you on for so much longer. Even if you're asking more out of KD, more taxing him in terms of responsibility on the offensive side of the floor, it's eventually going to wear on him. Durant has been missing several games over the past few years. 62 last year, 75 the year after that, and then in that last year in Brooklyn, transitioning over to Phoenix, 39 games. And so if you are also Kevin Durant, which I think is the other problem, and why I think that the Rockets are probably more poised to make a significant change sooner than later in terms of a trade, is because they don't have that many years to play around with Kevin Durant. They don't have that many years to put themselves in a position to where they can just have this year be another mulligan, another tryout season, and see what's going to happen at the end of it. This is a year in which they need to capitalize, and I do think they're going to put themselves in that position to make sure that they can capitalize. And the other reason why I say that as well is because of the pipeline of money that they're going to have to pay sooner than later. Jabari Smith, after this season, is going to be looking for a contract. Amin, after this season, will be eligible for an extension as well. Tari Eason, after this season, will be looking for a contract also. So you want to make sure you take advantage of these years, because the one thing that we've learned, Jabari already got his extension, so shout out to Jabari. But at bare minimum, this is the last year of his rookie deal that he's on. But what we have acknowledged in this new CBA is that time is of the essence in making sure that you take advantage of every single year is important, especially for financial flexibility. Part of the reason why the Thunder were able to go out there and win a championship and build a championship caliber roster is because the players that were surrounding Shea, Caruso was one of the players, but the players that were surrounding Shea were still on rookie deals. They were still making basically little to no money. Chet was making little to no money, J-Dub as well. And so then it gives you the flexibility to add someone like a Caruso, like a Isaiah Hartenstein, right? The Rockets are in that exact same position right now as well. And so you want to make sure you capitalize on all of these things. So I'm going to go as far as to say that if I am the Rockets, I'm not going to use this season as a punt. I'm not going to be too experimental with this season either. I'm going to use this season as a year to go out of my way to go after and find a guard. I genuinely believe that this is a team that's probably going to make a trade in the first 2 to 3 months of the season. I see them making a trade for a point guard before we even get to the deadline. I just can't. I cannot imagine that Houston, knowing what's at stake, knowing what they have at their disposal, knowing the opportunity that they have in front of them, that they would dare waste any of it to do an experiment on Reed Shepherd or Amin Thompson at the point guard position. And I think they're actually so dedicated to the idea of trying to build, especially because of what Amin has provided to them, as well as the development of Şengün, Tari Eason, Jabari Smith, how optimistic you can be of those players, that if anything, this does nothing more but speed up the inevitable, and that was trying to find a starting point guard anyway. Fred VanVleet is a temporary fix to a much larger problem. That problem potentially was going to be alleviated if Jalen Green turned into the scoring, shot creator, half-court offensive weapon that they needed. He unfortunately did not do so. But Jalen Green was going to be able to fulfill the void of not only being a shot creator, but also a passer and playmaker in this hypothetical that he was going to pan out to be that player. And once he did not, Kevin Durant certainly does provide a lot of those problems. I mean, provide a lot of answers in terms of shot creator, but in terms of a passer and playmaker, outside of development of Şengün, there's nobody else on this roster that even shows any signs of being that player. And so, though this is a major blow, I feel like this is going to be the perfect opportunity for them to have a wake-up call and be like, yo, we need to go. We need to go and get the point guard that we need to get. We don't need to play. We don't need to sit here and lollygag. We need to go. We need to get the point guard. We need to go out there and find the player that we have for our future. Nigga has watched zero Amin Thompson. I've watched more than zero. I personally don't think that they would waste this year to completely roll the dice on an Amin Thompson leap as a passer and playmaker. It'd be crazy if he did that, but I'm not doing that. I personally am not going to sit here and roll the dice on an Amin Thompson leap in those regards. I think that he provides a lot of value, being a starting caliber ball handler, passer, and playmaker. That's a fuck no. I don't know what to tell y'all. I don't know what to tell y'all, bro. I don't know what to tell y'all. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but that's a pretty steep leap. Now, where would I go? If I wanted an initiator, a ball handler, where would I go to find this caliber of player? Not to say these are going to be all my answers, but Gabe Vincent is a no. Y'all are no. We'll figure out why is Lorenz dropping my whole government? What's going on right now? What is going on in the chat? The people who keep asking me about signing Russ, they can't sign Russ. Yeah, for the people who, because there's people on YouTube and on Playback who talking about sign Russ. They can't do it, dog. I don't know, bro. Nigga, I'm trying to be diplomatic. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe my problem is that I'm trying to be too diplomatic, too cutesy. I'm acting as if like this is the low post. So let me go ahead and just scream into y'all ear about what the fuck is going on. Maybe y'all just missed it as well. To the niggas who keep asking me, oh man, they should sign Russ. They can't, nigga. They can't sign Russ. The reason why they can't sign Russ is because they don't have enough space to sign someone to a vet minimum. The reason why they don't have that much space to sign someone to a vet minimum is because they're like rubbing up against the first apron. Okay, financially, they just can't do it. So signing someone is not an option. All right, they literally cannot do it. Okay, to the people, all right, maybe some of y'all missed it. Okay, again, for the people who are saying that they can just sign Russ or Ben Simmons, they can't, because the vet minimum, especially for Russ's age, I think it's like 3 or maybe even 8. I can't remember what it is, but it's too much money. It's way too much money. Right now, they only have they're 1.2 million away from the first apron, which would then give them hard cap. They cannot go over it. They can't. There's really no way they can do it. So they can't just sign him. So the only thing they can do is trade. So let's be clear. They cannot sign Russ. They cannot sign Ben Simmons. I also think that even if they could sign either one of them, I would still have said no. Y'all niggas, hey, bro, they don't need to sign. They don't need to sign either one of them. Neither one. Y'all talking about go get Kyle Lowry? No. All right. Let me say this again. Because maybe I'm just being like, am I being too Terry Rozier? Oh fuck. Okay. Let me say it again. Maybe some niggas understand. This is a team that knows they only have a 1 or 2 year window because they added Kevin Durant to the roster. If they want to maximize, let me not say they only have a 1 or 2 year window, but for the iteration with KD on the team, it's a 1 or 2 year window. And to even prepare themselves beyond the KD years, which originally were going to do because Fred VanVleet was also only supposed to be a temporary fix. Fred is temporary. The nigga's in his late 30s or mid 30s. They were not believing that Fred was going to be a part of the picture for the next 3, 5, 7 years. That's what they need to go find. They need to find someone who is prepared to be a part of this for the next 3 to 5, 7 years, right? So Fred was already temporary. Nigga, they can waive him, but they would have to what is it called? They had to hit him on like the disability thing. But that right there it still wouldn't change anything. So I already see some people say some of the names. Malik Monk, like Real Talk said, I think should be on the table for them. Austin Reeves I think is big game hunting because I don't necessarily know what they have to give up. Another name that I have to let me double check before I say the name because niggas talking about Terry Rozier. No, Terry Rozier wouldn't be an option. I don't know why some of y'all thinking that Terry Rozier would be an option. But let me double check here. Okay. I heard about the Anthony Simon news too. I don't know if that is true or not. I just don't know. But I have a quick question. To my Chicago fans, has Kobe White signed an extension? Did Kobe White sign an extension? Okay. If I am them, I would ask, why has Kobe White not signed an extension? And I would ask them, hey, we will take Kobe White and we will trade Kobe White for Reed Shepherd. I would get off Reed Shepherd. Not to say that Reed is bad, but a lot of the value that I would get out of Reed, Kobe has already provided evidence that he could be very similar in many regards. And I would try to go after someone like Kobe White. Kobe White is a really good shooter. I think a lot of his value doesn't get seen over in Chicago. I would say move off of Reed Shepherd. I would say get off of Reed Shepherd. Why would the Bulls do this? Because I don't know if they really want to sign Kobe to a long-term deal. I don't think they would. If they would, they probably would have done it already. They're already shaky on who they want to go after. So Kobe fits a lot of what this team needs. Combo guard, he keeps the height. Better shooter than a lot of the names that y'all are talking about, especially like fucking not Malik Monk, Terry Rozier and Kyle Lowry. I'm not mad at the Malik Monk pickup. Someone in the chat on YouTube, Filthy Slimes, shout out to you with a $2 dono. You bring up a really good option as well. If you want to just keep everything temporary as possible, hit up Portland and ask them, Ayo, Drew Holiday, I don't know if he still wants to play for y'all. We'll take on Drew Holiday. We'll throw in a young player that y'all probably want anyway. The only problem with Drew is that he makes way too much money. He makes way too much money. Yeah, it's a lot of money. It's like $30+ million. And it's crazy. It's 34. There you go. $34 million is just a lot. Cam Thomas is also interesting because he did sign a qualifying offer, so the Nets are probably in position to trade him as well. That'll be interesting. I just don't think Cam is a good enough passer and ball handler. I just don't think that he is. Derek White is also very interesting as well, even though the reason why I'm not the biggest fan of Derek White is because how old is Derek? I think Derek White is also in his 30s, no? He's 31. Derek White is 31 and he's already under contract. I don't know if they want that either. I am trying to find an answer for the Rockets that will be suffice enough for the next handful of years. This is not going to be like a temporary fix. I want to be able to find something for them long term, because that's something that they're going to have to address long term as well. So some of these 30-year-olds who are already under contract for $30+ million, I just don't know. I think Austin Reeves is an option. Quentin Grimes, I think, is another option. I have to see a little bit more Quentin Grimes as a ball handler, passer, and playmaker. I don't think Cam Thomas is a good enough passer and playmaker to be on a team that genuinely needs it. I personally like Kobe White. I like Kobe White. If I were them, I would try to figure out why haven't y'all gotten him an extension? What do y'all want to do? I think Kobe makes the most sense for them. I think he makes the most sense. He's still in his 20s. He's probably not going to come at a crazy price point either. I think that he has some flexible contracts and young players that the Bulls would be interested in as well. For me, that makes sense. Some people are throwing around Sexton and Garland. I ain't gonna lie. If you can get Darius Garland, go ahead and do it, man. If you can get Garland, you got it. You got it. I don't think they're gonna get Darius Garland, because if I'm Cleveland and if things don't work out, I'd rather keep Garland and move off of Donovan Mitchell. That's what, if I'm Cleveland, it would not make any sense that if things don't work out and we're about to blow things up, I would definitely get rid of D. Mitch and move in a different direction with Mitchell than give up Garland, because Garland is like 20-some years old. Mitchell is 29. And Mitchell also only has one more year left on his deal. So unless I'm getting back something of substance that is going to change the trajectory pretty significantly to convince Donovan Mitchell to stay long term, I would just get rid of. That wouldn't make any sense. Rob Dillingham is a no. Minnesota is preparing to put Rob in the starting five, or at least in theory, that's what they would like to do. And so, yeah, somebody on YouTube said Reeves for Amen Thompson. No. Nope. Not going to do it. Not going to do that. We're not going to do that. But regardless, though, my prediction on how everything goes is that I personally do not believe, personally speaking, this is extremely detrimental, but I do believe that the Rockets, they put themselves in a position to give themselves an out with all of the young quality, talent, and potential on their roster, right? If things don't work out, hey, man, we're going to go out there. Let's give it a month, maybe two, to see who got the chops to potentially grow and build quicker than we thought as a starting point guard. If not, calling some people up. Calling some people up. And if it's me, I'm calling Chicago up immediately, going for Kobe White. That's what I would do. I'm calling for Kobe White immediately. And also, within the first month or two in the season, you also get a gauge to see which teams are struggling and which teams are not. And then when you get to realize which teams are struggling and which teams are not, then you also get to realize who becomes a little desperate, who's going to be a little bit more desperate. Kobe isn't a point guard. He could play point guard. I've seen him handle the offense, initiate it. I think the learning curve for Kobe to be a full-time point guard, that learning curve is nowhere near as steep as it would be for Reed Sheppard or Amin Thompson. I think that right there would be, those learning curves would be way, way, way more. And also, in an offense that features Şengün long-term, an offense that features Şengün, you don't have to be this all-time passer and playmaker, right? Because in theory, you're going to get someone else in a half-court set that's going to provide that for you. So you don't really need to be the world's greatest passer and playmaker. You just need to be. I don't want to do this because it's putting a lot on a lot of the responsibility on these players, but effectively, you just need to be Jamal Murray. Like, Jamal Murray he's not the world greatest passer and playmaker, but in the way in which they functionally set that offense up, that's it. Darren Collinson's another really good name. Like, you just need to be a solid point guard, and that's what you need. But if I'm Houston fans, this definitely changes things, but I think the change isn't going to be them falling out of the sky. I think the change is going to be more preparing for a trade, because effectively you all were going to have to do that inevitably anyway. Fred VanVleet is not a part of the long-term picture for you all. He's just not. But get well soon, Fred. We will certainly miss you. It was going to be really, really great hoops. But unlike everybody else in the community, I don't believe that this is the end of the Rockets. I think it's going to be the beginning of a significant change, but not the end for them. I don't think they would trade Jabari or Tariusen though. Let me see. Nigga said Reed bitch ass better step up. Okay. Hold on, chat. My mom called me twice, so let me see what's going on. Hold on. Mon Dukes called me to make sure. She said, I'm not even joking. She dead ass told me, hey, do you know anything about Snake Be Gone? I'm at Walmart right now. I thought it was like dead ass something crazy. This is apparently the setup for Real Talk. Yeah, it's AI. It's a render. It's a render of what it could look like. All right, let's grade it now. Just so y'all know, Raquel made this render. But on the scale of 1 to 10, or graded, not graded, yeah, A, B, C, D. What do y'all put it? Y'all can use F as well. Y'all just love glazing Raquel. This shit is ridiculous. Raquel could dead ass just do whatever the fuck she wants to do, and y'all would just say, "Oh, it's A, it's A." This is ridiculous, bro. It's crazy. It's crazy. Nah, that one nigga wants to get banned. Nigga threw a bunch of Fs. Even the niggas on YouTube talking about, oh, it's about an 8. This nigga said it's an 8 to 10, then he turned around and said it's a B minus, a B plus. Y'all niggas be glazing way too much. In other off-season news, Ben Wallace believes that if they drafted Carmelo Anthony, they would not have won. Interesting take, because most of us just flat out believe that they would have won by default, especially that same year. But let's see. Melo would have wanted to play right away. It would have had the potential to disrupt the team chemistry. By drafting Darko, he was a guy that came in and said, I can't play on this team. I'm not ready to play on this team. Who am I going to play in front of? I'm not ready. By him doing that and accepting his role, it allowed us to build, grow, and get stronger, and eventually win a championship. If we would have drafted Melo, Tayshaun Prince would have never blossomed and be the type of player that he would have become. We won a championship off the back. This is kind of crazy. We won a championship off the back of our best block. We won a championship off the back of the best block that I've ever seen in my life. Prince blocking Reggie Miller, Game 2 Eastern Conference Finals. And I blocked a lot of shots. That's the type of grit and grind our team was. Damn, that's a shot. Damn, that's a shot, bro. I can't even hold you. That's a tough one right here. That's a tough one. Ben Wallace mentioned that the team don't win the championship. Young OG, how do you think Carmelo would have fit? Damn. I'm going to say this. It's a different approach, and who am I to tell Ben Wallace what his team did or didn't need? However, I wonder if they would have put Carmelo at the 4, because I always think this, but I have to be better at doing this. I always think to myself, just put Melo at the 4, but at that point in time in NBA history, there weren't that many like 6'7", 6'8" power forwards, because at that time in league history, you legitimately need to be like 6'10", 6'11", borderline 7 feet tall, right? So Melo coming in at 6'7", 6'8", like 6'7", power forward. I don't really think that would have worked. So I see why he's saying that by default it would have been, he would have had to come off the bench, or at least he would have like looked for a starting role. And that would have been tough. I do wonder though, for the 04 Pistons, what was their original starting 5? Also, I love how he just flat out said like Darko came in and that nigga knew he wasn't good enough. Eldon Campbell. Wow. This is the one thing I love about the league back then. It don't matter how bad a nigga was. It's just like the thought process back then is so archaic that the thought of Carmelo being on a roster is like, we just couldn't figure out how to place him anywhere. As if like the thought of like, well, you can just play both Tayshaun and Melo at the same time. Like, that's not even crossing a nigga's mind. Back then, it was so archaic, the thought. just like the perceived idea of putting Tayshaun and Melo on the floor at the same time is just like, we can't do that. Like, that's not even an option. Like, we have to start either Tayshaun or Melo. We got to pick one. And, like, these niggas are dead ass running Eldon Campbell. Be mindful, chat. They had Mamedo Core on the team. They had Mamedo Core on the roster back then. So they could have started this nigga. And then Eldon Campbell had to have been just so bad. Yeah, Eldon Campbell got so bad. Unless, did he get hurt? Bro, this nigga was 35. And they were still forcing this nigga on the floor. Eldon Campbell got so bad that it took them to the 25th game to finally come to the conclusion that we should probably start someone else. Or did he get, let me double check. He might have just got hurt, actually. Before I say that, let's see something. Yeah, he got hurt. He got hurt, missed some games, and then never returned back to the starting five he just never returned back to the starting five. So it took Eldon Campbell getting hurt before they finally decided to throw Mamedo Core in at the 4, which makes sense. That's how they should have started from the jump. They should have been doing that. And then here in February is when they finally got Rasheed, and then they kind of went off from there. But the fact that they were actively looking for another forward, like a starting caliber forward, and to believe that Melo would not be able to provide that answer whatsoever, but it would be more realistic for them to just go out there and trade for Rasheed Wallace instead of just drafting someone who could have been that, is kind of crazy to me. It's just crazy and scary that right there is the conclusion that you're coming to. I just realized, I didn't know this. I did not know this until right now I'm looking at it. The Pistons pick that they traded. This is even crazier. The pick that they traded to get Rasheed Wallace turned out to be, from Atlanta, Josh Smith. I did not know that. And then they also traded Chucky Atkinson and Lindsey Hunter and another first-round pick to go get Tony Allen. They traded 2 first-round picks. One turned out to be Josh Smith. The other one turned out to be Tony Allen for Rasheed Wallace. And Ben Wallace is claiming that instead of us just being a bit more forward-thinking and drafting Melo, so it could have also saved us from these 2 picks going to 2 other teams, in theory, they could have also came in and brought in Tony Allen and Josh Smith. That's crazy. That's crazy. Oh, man. That's a tough one right there. That's tough. And then Tony Allen was a 25th pick. And then Josh Smith. So, in theory, if they had kept these 2 picks, they also could have drafted Kevin Martin, Jameer Nelson, Delonte, J.R. Smith, or they could have drafted Josh Smith and Tony Allen. Hey, man, at least they got a championship off of it. I ain't gonna lie, they got a championship off of it. They did get a championship off of it. I can't lie. I can't act as if like it's not worth it. But that's a pretty steep price to pay, especially for the inability of not acknowledging that maybe you could have just, I don't know. Just drafted him and put Melo at the 4. Actually, you know what I also want to realize? Did Tayshaun not play any power forward this year? Damn, basically none. They'd rather play this nigga, Big Nasty. But this nigga's 6'7". He's 6'7". So you had a 6'7" nigga that was playing the power forward anyway. Nah, Ben, you lost me. You lost me, Ben. You lost me. You're losing me. Carlos Williamson was 6'7". He was a small forward before he got to Detroit. Really, the only time he was a power forward. Oh, he played small forward a few years before that. That's scary if like a nigga can't even fathom them doing that. But that should really let y'all know just how the league was at that time. The league was so stuck in its ways that instead of playing, like just thinking to yourself, we could have just had Melo and Tayshaun playing the 3 and the 4. He's just like, nah, we can't do it. We just can't do it. Like, genuinely speaking, we can't do it. And also be very mindful. I don't even know if they needed to like face the Milwaukee Bucks are starting Michael Redd, Desmond Mason, Joe Smith, Keith Van Horn, Brian Skinner. Yeah, they're not starting nobody who's big. So like in the first round, you wouldn't have to go up against like 2 7-footers. New Jersey, I don't think was starting anybody big. They had Kenyon and Jason Collins, but Jason wasn't playing that many minutes. So it was Kenyon and Brian Scalabrine. So maybe they played a little big. Maybe that would have been a lot for a smaller lineup. And that series went to 7. So that, yeah, okay. All right. I see. And then you would have had to go up against Al Harrington, Jermaine O'Neal, Metta World, Ron Artest at the time, a Metta World Peace. Okay, yeah. Damn, that's tough. Damn, I didn't. You know what's so crazy? I never thought about it like that, but maybe they wouldn't have. Damn. If that's the case, then why not just say Chris Bosh? Why not just say like, hey, we would have drafted Chris Bosh? Because Bosh was available. You could have just drafted Bosh. Bosh still would have made sense for what y'all were doing. I don't know. I kind of just feel like the idea of like what's going on, I think is kind of crazy. But you know, it is what it is. What else? Is there anything else? Notion. I want to make sure. Yeah, but in their mind, they're not going to draft Wade because there's nothing really. They're not going to draft Wade. They already had their backcourts. They already had Billups and Rip. The only player that they were still waiting to develop was Tayshaun. Tayshaun was the last player that they were waiting to develop. And then after Tayshaun, fair, you could have traded a pick too. That's actually true. You could have traded the pick. Damn, there's so many things you could have did. But saying that the reason why is because Mehmet Core was more willing to just take a backseat role, I think it's kind of crazy. Somebody highlighted Jokic glaze. In ESPN's recent offseason survey, Nikola Jokic is voted as the best player in the NBA right now. Jokic night. So there's only 20 niggas voting? What the fuck? No way. Oh, yeah, I saw that dumb shit. Oh, my God. Hold on. Who has that? Is that survey on ESPN? Oh, it's not on ESPN? Oh, well. I was about to type it in, but I guess not. It is, or hold on. ESPN. Tim Bontemps posted on Twitter. Let me see what Tim got to say. Am I following Tim? I'm not following this nigga. Huh. NBA offseason. So it's just 20 niggas that work for ESPN. The Warriors will be signing Al Horford, Seth Curry, Gary Payton II, and DeAnthony Melton once the Kuminga situation ends. If you're a Warriors fan and you're holding your breath for fucking Kuminga news, it's crazy. Also, having an AI picture in Al Horford screaming with a fucking Warriors jersey on is nuts. NBA offseason survey, best, worst, summer deals, LeBron's future, finals, picks. A new NBA season is nearly here. Multiple teams will hold media day Tuesday ahead of the start of the regular season. As for y'all know, news. We will be streaming media day, preseason games, all overseas. So with the offseason basically behind us, save a couple of lengthy restricted free agent standouts, let's dive into how league insiders view the offseason most impactful trades and signings. It doesn't say who. Okay, but here's our outlook: which teams did the best and worst this offseason, along with determining who the best players are, both now and in the future, as well as who is who is leading the way for the Americans. What? Plus who will ultimately be holding up the Larry O'Brien Trophy next June through the eyes of 20 coaches, scouts, and executives. We polled for their thoughts on all of the above. So these actually are not quote unquote insiders. These are people who are actually in the league. So coaches, scouts, and executives. So who will be the MVP? Jokic gets 7 votes. Shea gets 5. Luka gets 4. Wemby gets 2. Giannis gets 1. Anthony Edwards gets 1 as well. I'm going to be honest with you. This is all dependent on narrative and whose story is going to be better this upcoming season. It's always going to be hard for Jokic to win another MVP just because he's not only competing with the likes of Shea and Luka, but he's also competing in historic sense against like LeBron and MJ. And the closer he gets to the total of like those two players and Kareem, it's going to be harder and harder. So that's going to be tough. I personally believe, depending on how everything goes and works out in favor of certain players, I think Luka has a really good chance of winning league MVP this year, especially because not too many people are high on the Lakers. But then obviously Giannis, I think, is going to make a really good case as well. Wait. For those voting for Doncic, the expectations is that with health and a full season with the Los Angeles Lakers after his shocking midseason trade, there's no reason that this shouldn't be a 3-player race. He's in shape, and East executives said, and will be motivated. Who's the best player right now? 19 votes for Jokic, only 1 vote for Luka. I want to be clear on this because people are going to make it seem as if like, oh, they're making it seem like it's definitive. Finding out of 20 names, 19 of them being Jokic doesn't mean that it's definitive. It could be close. It just on the day in which they were asked. That's it. So I just want to be clear. While there has been a nip and tuck. Oh, shit. Hold on, chat. Brian text me. Oh. He gave me a good tip. While there has been a nip and tuck battle for MVP between Jokic and Shea over the past few years, and our survey projects another one, there was little debate about who's the single best player in the NBA. Okay, well, there's that. Maybe there isn't any debate. That would be Jokic, as the Thunder star and reigning MVP didn't receive any votes, and only a stray one for Doncic separates Jokic from becoming the first unanimous selection for our honor across 7 years. Fuck. For just about every voter, there was little hesitation in picking Jokic before moving on to the next question. Tough. A nod more to the remarkable run than a slight at Shea or anyone else. As long as he's walking and breathing, while Jokic wasn't a unanimous choice, he's the first player to be selected for a third time, edging Giannis's top finishes in 2021 and 2022. Who will be the best player in 2030? Victor Wembanyama wins 16, Luka 2, Shea 1, Tatum 1. This nigga works for the Celtics. There's no way a nigga thinks that after the injury that he just sustained, that in 5 more years, he's going to be better than fucking Wemby. There's just no way. No, there's just no way. How old is Tatum right now? Nigga, be serious. Tatum is 27? Oh my God. He's about to be 28 in March. And you think when he's 32, going on 33, he's going to be the best player in the league? Oh, my God. Oh, niggas is not serious. Okay. For consecutive years, Wemby was the runaway winner in this category. And with the real question, how old is Shea, too? Shea to get a vote is also kind of crazy. How old is Shea? He's 27, too. Ah, be fucking serious, nigga. Be serious. I don't give a fuck. Wait, here, let me go. There's no one. I love these quotes. There's no one that has that shot profile, Western Conference assistant said of Tatum. He's what everyone wishes they have. A 6'10" guy who shoots threes, gets to the rim, and gets fouled. A Western Conference exec. You fucking serious, bro? Nigga is Danny Ainge. Who's the best player? Who's the best American player right now? Curry with 11, Anthony Edwards with 8, Donovan Mitchell with 1. D. Mitch. Oh, man. Fuck. So we got a Cavs exec and a Boston exec answering this fucking... Oh, no. A Cavs exec and Danny Ainge. That's what we got. Fuck. Or Real Talk is answering these fucking questions. Before Tatum's injury, this question would have been on the survey. This question wouldn't have been on the survey at all, given the Boston Celtics superstar wing was coming off of a first-team All-NBA honors for a 4th consecutive season and won NBA title a year ago. But with Tatum out of the mix, the honor instead was given to Curry, despite him being 37 years old and entering his 17th season. I ain't gonna lie, it's kind of scary because Curry should not be ahead of Ant, but I'm fine with him being ahead of Ant. It's just that it's scary that at 37, as an American, like, this is it. I'm gonna be honest with y'all as a quick sidebar. Sidebar real quick. This next, I personally believe the next Olympics that's coming up, I don't believe that the pressure is on USA. I think the pressure is on everyone else because this is it. This next year, not next year, but the next Olympics is it. Because after that Olympics, and basically, like, it's going to be 7 years from now. 7 years from now, Jokic is going to be older. Obviously, 7 years older. Giannis is going to be 7 years older. Gobert is going to be 7 years older. Like this next Olympics, is going to be the last great version of a lot of players. Like Shea will at that point be 33, 34. Like that is it. America keeps churning out like elite level talent, but you're going to get at a point where you're running out of options. So, yeah. What I mean by next year, the next Olympics, Shea's going to be 30, 31. But what I'm saying is the Olympic after that is where Shea will be deep into his 30s, and I don't know if Jokic and Giannis will still be playing. So this next Olympics is the only one that I think is going to be, in contention. So it's tough. Who will be the best American player in 5 years? Anthony Edwards, Cooper Flagg, Jason Tatum, Paolo Banchero, and Jalen Williams. That's kind of tough that Paolo doesn't have more votes than Tatum, but, having just turned 24 and coming off of winning a gold medal last summer with Team USA and back-to-back trips to Western Conference Finals with the Minnesota Timberwolves, Edwards is the logical choice to lead the vote. I don't see anyone else catching him by then. You don't see Cooper Flagg? Bro, they just say anything. It's fine to say, as of today, it's Ant, but to believe that you don't think Cooper Flagg could catch him is kind of crazy. And it's unfair to Cooper to put him on before playing in one NBA game. I agree. So it's Ant until proven otherwise. All right, whatever. Who will be Rookie of the Year? Cooper Flagg should have won unanimously, but whatever. Who's the best player from the class of 2025 in 5 years? Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey. Yeah, all right, sure. I think Cooper's going to be it. Oh, wow. Where will LeBron be at the start of the 26-27 season? 7 votes say the Lakers, 5 votes say retired, 4 votes say Cleveland Cavaliers, 2 votes say Golden State Warriors, 1 vote each for Dallas and Miami. Put in the chat what y'all think LeBron's going to do the beginning of not the season coming up, but the year after that. As James enters his 23rd NBA season, congrats to LeBron. And after the drama that played out after he opted into his contract this summer, there has been plenty of speculation about his future. There was far from any sort of consensus, among the respondents here. However, with one Eastern Conference scout summing it up in a general sentiment, if I was taking the Lakers or the field, I take the field, which is pretty interesting. But I'll take the Lakers over any specific team, especially given they are the one with a clear path to pay him. But do they want to pay him? That's that. And I'll be honest with y'all, that's the real question. Do they even want to pay him? Do the Lakers still want to pay LeBron? I'm of the mind state that they probably don't. Yeah, I'm of the mind state that after this season, it is done. And I also believe that if he didn't have a no-trade clause in his contract, they would have already attempted to trade him anyway. I think that they are full-fledged Team Luka. We're going all in. There's no need for us, unless LeBron is willing to take a major pay cut, there is no need for us to continue to invest $40 to $50 million in LeBron on a year-to-year basis if we have an option for the future. That's what should be done. And again, I'm so serious when I say this, if he did not have a no-trade clause, I think they would have already traded him. Someone asked me, trade him for what? I do believe that it would be poetic justice. I think it would be really, really great for the last year of LeBron's career to play out in Cleveland. Cleveland is also in a situation to where if you're the Cavs, you have a window of opportunity to maximize what you have in front of you with Donovan Mitchell coming up on a player option, Jared Allen's name constantly being rumored around, trading him, Evan Mobley, up-and-coming big that plays better at the 5 with a floor spacer next to him at the power forward position. I think there's a lot of flexibilities there. Playing in Cleveland, I think it works out for both parties as well. Which team had the best offseason? They said the Hawks at 7, Denver Nuggets at 4. Wow. Houston Rockets at 3, OKC with 2, Orlando with 2, Clippers with 1, Lakers with 1. Oh, man. Man, be fucking serious, Rob. 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 Come on. Rob. Come on, Rob. We know you're getting questioned. Also, the Clippers getting a vote after everything that has come out this offseason is also fucking crazy. All right. After largely being an afterthought in the NBA circle for the past several years, since making the 2021 Eastern Finals, the Hawks earned plenty of praise for their busy offseason after trading for Kristaps Porzingis, signing Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and landing one of the most valuable trade assets in the league, an expected lottery pick from the New Orleans Pelicans, which is fucking ridiculous, in draft night. What the fuck are the Pelicans doing? I think they'll be one of the best teams in the East, and they utilize every tool in their toolbox. Shout out to the Hawks. I do think they had a really great offseason. I do also love what the Denver Nuggets did as well, but I'm gonna be honest with y'all, getting Kevin Durant for the Rockets is a major win. Major win. It's kind of hard to overlook that. You know, you go from the second best team record-wise in the Western Conference, and then you immediately address your biggest concern. I don't know. I feel like that's really hard to beat. And the question isn't who do you think is the best team after the offseason. It's just who do you think had the better offseason. I don't think going from, unless we're just sucking off Cam Johnson and Bruce, I don't know why I want to call this nigga Bruce Bowen. Not Bruce Bowen. What's the nigga name? Brucey Poo, Bruce Brown. Unless we just sucking off Bruce Brown and Cam Johnson from MPJ, like going from Jalen Green to Kevin Durant, like that's like, bro, be fucking serious, bro. Be serious. Which team had the worst offseason? The Pelicans at 9, Pelicans at 4, Kings at 2, Bulls, Lakers, Grizzlies, Sixers, and Blazers all sharing 1. The Pelicans more than doubled anyone else on this list, with voters not only disliking the price they paid on draft night to land Derek Queen, but also taking on Jordan Poole in exchange for CJ McCollum expiring deal. I agree with that. I agree. What was the best offseason move? The Rockets trading for Durant. How the fuck can that be the best offseason? I guess you're saying the Rockets trading for Durant, the Magic trading for Desmond Bane, Hawks trading for the Pelicans draft pick, Nuggets, nigga, all right, so we're sucking it off. We're sucking it off now. How the fuck can the Nuggets trade for Cam Johnson only get 1 vote? So niggas is now telling me that the Bruce Brown edition with the Cam Johnson trade is now more than the Durant. You're sucking it off. The biggest name, you already know. I'm not about to read that. What was the worst move in the offseason? The Pelicans trading an unprotected pick swap, which is fucking nuts. The Blazers trading for Jrue Holiday. I don't know if that's that crazy. It's just the amount of money he's making that's tough. Suns waiving and stretching Bradley Beal. That's tough. Pacers losing Miles Turner. That's tough. Suns trading for Mark Williams. That's crazy. King signing Dennis Schroeder. That's tough as well. What was the most surprising offseason moves? So far, I agree with all these. Turner to the Bucks. Leonard being waived. I said Leonard. Lillard being waived and stretch. Hawks signing Nickeil. Knicks firing Tibbs. That wasn't surprising at all. Trailblazers trading for Holiday. And Kuminga still with the Warriors. That's actually is surprising. What was the biggest trend in the offseason? Teams trying to avoid the aprons and financial flexibility. Teams prioritizing size. Team prioritizing youth and depth. I agree. Who will win in each conference NBA title? Cavs with 9, nearly half. Then the Knicks with 7. All right. West, it's either the Thunder or Nuggets. Damn. NBA title, either Thunder or Nuggets. Tough. Man, we back in the fuck AL chat. We back in the mid-2000s where nobody doesn't really believe anything that's going on in the East, bro. We're back. We're back, dog. We're back. And that's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. Oh, my bad. I'm gonna say, who do I have coming out of the West? I agree. I think it's OKC than Denver. Who do I have coming out the East? I'm actually much higher on Orlando than a lot of people are. But I like Orlando. I think I like Orlando even over the Knicks. If I had to pick, I would do the Cavs in Orlando, then Atlanta. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. But on that note, Monday Night Football, it has started. So I'm going to catch y'all later. I really, really do appreciate that from y'all. Unless there's something else that needs to be stated, I think that's it. But shout out to Ant. Links are in. Links are being dropped. You know what I'm saying? Links. What Bron tweet? Oh, what about the Bron tweet? Hold on, Ant. Let me knock this out real quick. To you old fucks who just be saying anything for the sake of just saying anything, please shut the fuck up. Shut up! Olden, I don't know who the fuck this is, says he hates that LeBron takes all the credit for winning, but never takes the blame for losing. Who the fuck are you? The one thing I've always hated about LeBron, here it comes, it's like when they win, it's all him. When they lose, it's all them. I've always hated that narrative. When we could have spoken more to his greatness if one day he had said, "That's on me." Just one time, "That's on me." He has said that several times. Several times. He has said that several times. I'm not even a LeBron fan, but holy fuck, my nigga. Shut up. Fuck. You know what's worse? Is that niggas literally said, putting it in the chat.
I have to be better. I had 7 turnovers tonight. You know, if I have 4, then we don't put ourselves in that position. I also shot 8 for 25 from the field. You know, maybe if I'm 11 for 25, we put ourselves in a better position. I also shot 1 for 7 from the 3-point line. It ain't about Kyrie. Put it on me.
So I don't know what fucking world we live in where you say he's never done that ever in life. Like, please shut the fuck up. Shut up. Shut up. Niggas talking about how they hate narratives, but then go around and push narratives. What the fuck are you talking about? Nigga, there's a whole 6-minute. They have a whole 6.
You fell off. You didn't.
Oh, bro, there's a whole 6-minute video of LeBron taking responsibility for losses throughout his entire career. Hey, make sure y'all go like this up, bro. I like that up, bro. Because niggas bro, they swear up and down this nigga is just like the worst player ever. Like, I just don't understand. All right, chat. We'll catch y'all later. Tomorrow is Media Day. We will be streaming. If we're not streaming some of Media Day, we certainly will be streaming some of the big news that came from Media Day. So we'll be strong. What time? Stay tuned on Twitter. We gotta build it out for the schedule, and we'll try to like schedule it out on playback as well and on YouTube. So be on the lookout. We'll definitely keep y'all posted on both YouTube and playback. And I appreciate y'all for everything. I have the Ravens winning tonight.